Hi, I'm Wellax Lives. I think it's time to play a little 7 Days to Die. Alright. It's been a busy few days. I was trying to think where I want to start with everything that went down. Nothing particularly major, I guess, but, man, I was trying to think, did I watch anything I wanted to talk about before I move along? So, alright. Let's start with the crazy thing. So I've got an update, a Windows update that's, refusing to install. It's not just me, I've talked to a few different people and they also have the same update refusing to install, so whatever that is. But I've been trying to get it to clear, because sometimes when a Windows update is stalled the way this one is, it prevents other programs from working correctly, and so I've been trying to fix it, but it's not working. It's still broken. I couldn't get it to fix, and I've tried a couple of different days to get it to clear. You know, running all the different tricks that I know or can find on the internet, and I think I'm basically down to the last trick I saw was just tell Windows to ignore that update and wait for the next one. So that's probably what I'm going to end up doing at this point. But in the process of trying to clear this stuck update, it will install other updates, so I think it's okay. I think we'll just have to wait for the next update maybe to go through. I don't know what's wrong because all the things that are supposed to clear this aren't working. So whatever it is, I don't know. But one of the things that I did attempt was I was looking through the updates, and I saw there were some optional updates, and when I looked at the optional updates, they were driver updates for things that I use. And I'm like, oh, cool. I'll have it update those drivers. Well, I didn't pay close attention to what it wanted to update, and I should have, but I didn't. And one of them was a firmware update for my motherboard. Now, I have the software for my motherboard installed, and every firmware update I've done previously, I have done through that program. And when it updates the firmware, it's smart enough to keep my current settings. However, Windows didn't. And so it starts its update, and I can see it running the firmware patch, and then I have no picture. And I'm like, oh. I'm like, did that just like destroy my computer? Because I hear my computer reboot, but when it reboots, there's no picture. And because it reset the settings, it's not actually getting all the way through the boot, because I have a liquid cooling setup on my processor, and so it's not detecting a fan speed. And so you have to go into the BIOS and change change it so that it doesn't, you know, detect that there's a fan speed issue. And so I get in there and no, I'm sorry. I didn't get in there. I could not get a picture. No matter what I tried, no picture. It was crazy. And so in the process of pulling my entire computer out of the cubby that it sits in, um, and trying to get it freed because, of course, not all the cables are long enough to pull it all the way out, and it's in a super heavy and large case, obviously, because that's the only way. It seems like every computer I make, I make every computer I build has a bigger and more awkward case. I don't know what the deal is. I like back in the day, I had really simple cases. I think one of my favorite ones was I really like regular size, 3, 5 and a quarter openings and a couple of 3.5 openings back when 3.5 was a thing. And it was a super light case, and the parts just went in, parts come out, whatever. Great case. The problem is that most of the cases now have like built-in USB, and I like that, and I use that. But over the time, those USB ports tend to, for me anyways, get broken. And so when I go to build a new computer, I want a new case. Anyways, the case I bought, I didn't realize it had a big glass window on the side of it. And so it's super heavy, ridiculously heavy because of that. And uh, it's dumb for me to have a case with a glass window because it sits in a cubby. I literally have a desk that I built. Not, I guess I didn't build it. My uncle built, and it's got a open in the front and the back, and then it's tall enough so that there's room for air above it, and so um, I don't. I can't see it other than the front of it, basically, and so there's there's no point in having a glass side on my computer like that. And anyway, so I had to pull the thing out, and then I'm like, oh, I can't even get it loose because something's plugged in, and it's plugged in with a really short cable, of course. And so I'm trying to finagle that free, and in the process of trying to get all that out, my computer, it's basically on a little shelf in its cubby. Oh, I thought that guy was dead. He was just laying there while I was looking at him. And so in the process of pulling it out, it slid off the shelf and it just like flopped down onto the floor. But when it did that, it destroyed one of my cables that connect it to my monitors. So one of my two monitor cables gets pulled apart, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, all right. There's no way. There's just no way I can rearrange all the little tiny bent pins and get them um back into the end, the HDMI end. And I'm like, on top of that, I don't think I would trust, even if it worked, I would never be able to trust that cable to A, stay where it was, and B, come back out of whatever I plugged it into. So I'm like, okay. So I gotta go and well, I mean, at this point, I don't even have picture. So I unplugged my PlayStation because it's hooked up with a HDMI to the same monitor basically, and and then I'm fiddling with it, trying to figure out how to get image. And eventually I'm like Googling stuff on my phone, and I hate using my phone for stuff like that. It's just way easier to use a keyboard and mouse to surf the web, right? Than the phone. But eventually I had to look up how to get my CMOS battery out, and I had to pull the CMOS battery off my motherboard, which I've never done before. Uh, mm, yes, I've never done that before. I've shorted the CMOS pens a long, long time ago. Um, Landmines, huh? And to clear my CMOS because I put a password on my computer because I was tired of people using my computer. Uh, it was the only one in the house, and I just, you go to sports or whatever back when I was in high school when this went down, and when you come home after sports or whatever, and you find out one of your siblings has decided that since you weren't home, they could just use your computer. And so I was like, yeah, no, I don't want you guys using my computer without asking me first. Um, and I don't really like them using it while I'm not home in case something goes wrong. So I did up a password, but the password I wouldn't work. So I had to you take a jumper. I think it's called a jumper. It's been a long time since I've looked at the names of things. And you just there's like a spot in there where you can put it on a certain way, and it goes over like two metal pins, and then that resets the password that I was using. It wasn't a Windows password. This is so long ago that you didn't lock your computer with Windows. You had to lock your computer with the BIOS because your computer was going to load into like a C prompt. Um, anyways, so I've never had to reset the BIOS by um, popping the battery out. And oh, motorcycle chassis. Cool. I'll find the other parts to that. I'd be able to make a motorcycle. And so, anyways, I got the battery popped out, and then got it all reset, and then I had video, and so I was able to load back up everything, but still can't get that update to go through. So I had to order a new cable, which I unplugged the cable on the TV for my PlayStation and swapped it with the cable that's now busted, and and then when the new one came, I just plugged that into my PlayStation. So it's all good now, I guess. Uh, but that was pretty crazy. And then I bought the Steam dock for my Steam Deck, and of course my family a long time ago stole my. I mean, they didn't steal it, but I said they could use my television that I wasn't using that was in my bedroom because sometimes sometimes I'll watch a movie while I'm in bed or some anime. But for the most part, I just read. And so uh, I wasn't really using it. I had an acquaintance I used to play games with a lot, and I had the PlayStation set up in there for some reason, and so when he would want to play Grand Theft Auto, whatever, online, um, that's where I'd play it. And but yeah, we don't do that anymore. And so uh, basically, I told him I hated the game, and I'd like it if he would look for somebody different to play with. Uh, and so yeah, I really didn't like the game at all. But so I need a new TV to hook up my Steam Deck to now for my bedroom, because that's where I use my Steam Deck sometimes. And so I thought it'd be cool if I, could hook it up in my bedroom there. And I guess if I'm watching like Netflix or whatever, I can get a smart TV, and so that's what I did. They had this Prime deal thing going on this weekend and or the last couple of days here, and so I snagged a nice 32-inch to sit on the desk next to my bed, and so I'm gonna get my Steam dock and my Steam Deck all hooked up to that. See how that goes, and then I saw a tweet from the official Godzilla account about how they had the Criterion collection of the first 15 Godzilla movies on sale, so I had to buy that. I was like, I already have those movies in a nice HD format digitally on my computer. And so there's not really any need for me to get them on Blu-ray. I mean, it was a good chunk of money. And I was like, I've been trying to spend less, and this is really something that I don't. Yeah, I need it. All right, I bought it. It was Godzilla. It had a cool book with all this stuff and like some interviews and stuff. So I'm like, all right, fine, I'll do it. I'll do it. Oh, look at this little place. Well, what's the point of this? Well, there's no point for that at all. What is the point of that? There's too much road here. So so I don't know. Maybe it's a no. What's the point? I don't know. I guess maybe these roads were super busy and they didn't want this road or that road to stop. Must be. But they also needed these little ways to turn onto that road. So this road was so busy that it couldn't stop there, but it wasn't too busy to have just these little on-ramp things. Anyway. Yeah, you're screechy. I'm just kind of tooling around looking for, like, see if I can find another bookstore. I don't know what I'm really looking for. Maybe a gun store to check out. I didn't get a quest or anything for today, so I did set up a bunch of cement stuff cooking back at my base. So hopefully, well, I don't really need any cement, so I don't know why I did it. My base is so high up in the air on top of that building that they don't come for me anymore. So that's nice. Oh look, here's a cracker books right here. It's a big one. where'd you drop me? Good. Good. Okay. Hey, can't you see me? I'm checking a bag. I ain't got time to fiddle with your nonsense. You lost your head, so... you know what? I better empty my junk here. Um... Yeah, so then we did play some D&D this week, but we played a new D&D. It was the other guy's turn. And so we had finally got him into setting up a campaign we could play when the other guy doesn't show up. Ugh. Oh, these are metal. Look out, man, I'm having problems shooting here. I'm gonna die, and it's my own fault. Are you dead? So we did start a whole new campaign to play when the other guy doesn't show up. Well, we'd started it kind of before. We just didn't play. We made our characters, and so I decided to make some changes to my character. I'm still not sure I'm happy with him. I might make some more changes in between sessions here. I told the DM that I was making changes because I didn't know exactly what I wanted to play yet, and I didn't like what I'd come up with. So I talked about this a little bit before, but I don't even know what the name of the campaign is. I know that the DM, because he thinks he's funny, called it Zeitgeist for some reason. There was a reason, I just don't remember what it was, and I know that's not what it's called, but they had the word Zeitgeist in the description, I think, for the campaign. And so he says, "Ooh, you know what I'm gonna be calling this campaign?" I'm like, okay. And so why y'all speedrunning zombies? Great. Well, I knew that was coming. Told you it was coming. So, it's three of us playing, and so the DM didn't make a character, which meant that the two of us had to make two characters each, because you usually play with four. Well, you could play with less, but your DM has to be able um, to shift encounters around so that there aren't too many things attacking you. And the other DM, he basically plays whatever's in the book. He doesn't stray too far from what's listed. He does stray pretty far from what's listed in the book on what you're supposed to do and read. Um, Sometimes, but for the most part, he just throws all the bad guys that are on the map at you all at once, constantly, over and over. This is what it feels like. So yeah, so we needed four guys because the campaign is set for four players. And so we're playing constables in, I would say, mid-1800s London-y kind of place. And so I honestly don't know there's a thing happening. I think they're commissioning a new steamship, like a big battleship, and the uh, king from another kingdom that's allied with the place you live has come to attend the ceremony commissioning this new battleship. And um, so it starts with uh, this parade is about to start, and so are you've gotten word that there might be some trouble, and so you are supposed to be trying to figure out who might cause trouble. Only our DM is really bad at telling us what is going on this time. Uh, that I was very confused, and then about 3/4 of the way through, I think he finally read that we had a list of 20 suspects we were supposed to keep our eye out for, but that is not how we started the night. And so he's just like, so this place is divided up into 4 quadrants, and each of you need to take a quadrant, and you're looking for any trouble. And so I want you to tell me how you're going to be searching for trouble. And so, uh, um, and so it's really weird to me because he set it up like there was going to be this riot, right? But it's a riot by a single group of people. And so you would think that if one group of people is about to cause a riot, that there'd be clumps of them that you could find, not four guys. Four guys does not make a riot. Like maybe an assassination attempt, but that wasn't what we were supposed to be looking for. And so my one character, he's a bit of a ex-smuggler. And so I'm like, yeah, so he would, he'd be looking for the more the workers, right? Because this is a big parade, the nobility's there, the common folk are there. I'm looking for like the people who work the docks, which are in the book called dockers. And so we quickly were informed that the dockers are the ones we're supposed to be looking out for. And I'm like, okay, well, this is a big parade where everybody from the town has turned out. Do I see any clumps of dockers I could start chatting up with? And so he's like, well, no, you don't see any dockers. But if you want to talk to somebody, then you could. I'm like, okay, this is a little bizarre. I'm a constable, and I didn't know that I had a list of people I'm supposed to be looking for, but he kept mentioning dockers, and so I'm like, okay, well, I can't find any dockers, and so I talked to this guy. I got the name of a guy, and that guy didn't even have anything to do with what we were doing. I don't even know. I have no idea why I've got a name now written down that I wasn't allowed to go look for. Again, as I have complained about before, he gives you information like it's supposed to be important, but then won't let you discover why it's important because the book says that'll come up later. And that's not how D&D is supposed to work. If I want to go wander off and look up this guy, even if it's a detriment to what's going on, I should be allowed to go wander off and look up this guy. I don't understand why I was given his name. He had nothing to do with what we did. But whatever. And so I got that guy's name, and then uh, one of the other guys saw one of the dockers standing next to a tree that he had wrapped in a ribbon, and so I thought we would start looking for like markers that meant something, but we ended up just pulling the people together. Like we didn't know when we did our first couple of rounds of searching the crowd for trouble. We weren't given information on who we should be looking for, and so when I started talking, right, I was given the name, and then that was the end of my turn. because he had us roll initiative so we would know what order our turns came in, as each of us got a turn to check our quadrant. And so, um, oh, I think one of the other guys, he cast his channel divinity ability, which causes everyone around him to be afraid of him. Which he also rolled a perception, and he found a guy who was looking nervous before he cast it, and then after he cast it, the guy was so nervous that he admitted what he was there for. And then the other guy, so guy number 3 on our team, he not third person, but the third character we were controlling, managed to find a guy with the oh, you know what? I've got to turn. I've done walked past my mini bike. Uh, so he's the one who found the guy who was tying the ribbon, and so I still not aware that we're looking for the dockers because we hadn't been told that yet. Not that that guy gave it away. We had a list apparently of 20 people, 20 dockers we were supposed to be looking for. I don't know where that list came from. We just suddenly had it after we did all this work. And so my other guy, he's a warlock who I'm still trying to get a handle on what I want to do with him. And so I've given him the Mask of Many Faces ability, which allows him to shift his appearance at will. And so I said he was kind of an undercover spy type. And so I also gave him whatever his background is, it allows him to shift between personalities so that no one's sure which one's his real one, but he's got 2 that he can shift between, again, at will. And so I disguised him to go talk to like some of the merchants and stuff to see what was going on. And then eventually we found out it was the dockers, and that we had a list of 20 names we were supposed to be watching out for that we had been given by who knows and who knows when. And so eventually we did get I think 5 dockers in a group, and they attacked us, and then we proceeded to well, basically we proceeded to fight them to the death because they attacked us, and we tried to keep the last one alive, but the DM wouldn't let us. Our paladin wanted to do lethal damage, and then after he did lethal damage, he wanted to cast Spare the Dying, and then the DM, not understanding how D&D works after 7 years of 6-7 years of playing, I don't know if it's been that long, at least 4 or 5 years of playing, still does not understand how the game works, and said, you can't cast Spare the Dying on regular bad guys because regular bad guys just die when you kill them. They don't get saving throws. But that's not actually how the game works. Any character can get saving throws if you want them to. He just decided he didn't want... Again, somebody came up with a plan, and he didn't want us to be able to do our plan. That's how it always goes. We come up with a plan, and he decides that our plan is against the rules, because that's not how he wants... That's not how the book says to do it, or whatever the deal is. I don't know. So that was the end of our night, I think, at that point, and we got our XP. I still think I've got to look my character over some more. I might like completely wipe him down and start him over from scratch. I do want to play a warlock. I do like warlocks. I think they're fun. What little bit I've played one, and I'd like to play one as a regular character. But what I had done was I had chosen. Uh, so this campaign has themes, which is not a normal D&D thing, and the themes are basically grant you special abilities, and so the special ability for the theme I chose is you get to build like a little steampunk robot drone that operates like a find familiar character. And so I made my character based off of that theme, but I didn't read the theme. And so when I made my warlock, I normally go back to the blade if I'm playing a warlock because I don't know, I like that version. They do cool things with weapons. I know the big one now is the hex blade, but I like Pack to the Blade. Hexblade just seems too difficult to play with my DM because a Hexblade means that I'm bound to a sentient weapon, and I think that's just too much effort for my DM. I don't know if he can handle that, or if he could run it in a way that didn't completely annoy me. So, I had chosen Pact of the Chain because Pact of the Chain is the warlock pet related class, and they get better pets, better find familiars. And so I thought that would impact how powerful the drone was. But then when I was reading through it last night, I was like, oh no, that actually has nothing to do with the drone. And the drone is actually like a totally separate thing that operates like the Find Familiar spell, but isn't based off of what you would summon as a Find Familiar. It uses the same stats as the creature you summon with Find Familiar, but it doesn't. So one of the things with Find Familiar is that they can't attack, but a Warlock's Find Familiar can. And so I wanted that part, but then when I was reading it, it's like, oh yeah, you just equip your drone with a simple weapon, and then it can attack. And I'm like, oh, so then I don't need to be Pact of the Chain, and all the abilities with Pact of the Chain that affect your pet aren't going to affect this thing. So I guess I'm going to switch to one of the other versions. I don't know if I want to be Pact to the Blade. I don't know. I've got to look through the packs. It's just that I needed it to be something so we could play last night. And but yeah, so it went all right. It seems interesting. It definitely felt a lot better than our normal campaign, which is that dungeon crawler that we're stuck in and are never getting out. And listen, dude, you didn't have anything I wanted, all right? Would you shut up? Give me a quest that I can work on next time. Huh? How about that? You like that? But yeah, I was trying to think of anything else really went down. Oh, I guess real quick, we could do the game of House of the Dragon complaints. So episode 8. I'm 8 episodes in now. Nothing of import has happened. I think, very possibly, the Civil War has started. It did not start in the episode, but I feel like the outcome of the episode is going to be the start of the Civil War. And it's dumb. It's really dumb. I wasn't... Okay. Basically, they keep having these moments in the show that make it look like it's going to be the reason that the Civil War starts. But nothing has led to it. So first you got the king. He names his daughter as his heir. A woman has never been the leader, and so a bunch of the lords are angry about it. And so I'm like, all right, here we go. Nothing. And then the brother and the king get into it, and he storms off, and he steals some dragon egg, and he takes one of the castles that doesn't belong to him. I'm like, all right, nothing. I'm like, okay. And then they've got like this scene where the king has gotten remarried and he's got a new son, and the daughter who's been named heir feels like she's being pushed out, and they got like this scene where it makes it seem like the king is weak and she's strong, and like people are gonna follow her instead of the king. I'm like, oh, she's gonna rebel against her own father over this new son. He's probably gonna like change the heir from her to the new son, and then she'll demand that because she's the rightful heir because he named her that. Kind of nothing. And then it just keeps going like that. They just keep having these moments where you're like, oh yeah, and then nothing. And there's like these big time skips. So I think they're 14 when it starts, the princess and the girl who becomes the queen. And then they skip forward 3 years, and then they skip forward like 13 years. Well, now they've skipped forward another, I don't know, let's say 5 years at least. Um, and so the king is like almost dead at this point. He's got some kind of wasting disease. I thought it was grayscale at one point, which is a disease in the Game of Thrones series, but it doesn't look like grayscale. I'm not exactly sure what it is. He's just got like open sores and stuff like that. So I don't know what it is, but syphilis. He's got syphilis. I don't know what he's got. And he so he's dying, and then the princess has got a couple of children who are not Valerian blood. They're not full Valerian, and everybody knows that they're not the children of her husband. And so everybody, like, admitting that out loud gets you killed. And so everybody's kind of like dancing around the fact that her kids are not pure bloods, and so they're just ignoring that they're gonna sit the throne next, and so that finally came to a head this episode, and so I'm like, all right, finally, nothing. And then at the very end of the episode, so they've got this prophecy about Game of Thrones. Like the prophecy they keep talking about in the House of the Dragon is the prophecy that was fulfilled in the Game of Thrones. And so the king keeps mentioning it to his daughter that she's the one who has to continue upholding the prophecy, because it's a secret prophecy that only the king knows. And so while he's on his deathbed, after the families have sort of made up, I mean, the kids are still fighting each other. They're not kids, but the children of the queen and the princess, the queen that married the princess's father, not her mother, are still kind of fighting each other. And so I could definitely see where a civil war is going to happen between these people. But the queen and the princess seem to have made up. And at the very end of the episode, the king is dying, and he's hallucinating a little bit, and so he thinks he's talking to his daughter, and he mentions the prophecy again, And so the queen has already said that she would support the princess when she becomes the new queen. And but then he says that the prince that was promised will reunite the land, and so the against the darkness in the north. And so the queen thinks he's talking about her children, and so she's like, I'll carry out your wishes, kind of thing. And so she thinks that that prophecy wasn't a prophecy, but him saying that she should make her children the next rulers of Westeros, and so that's going to be the start of the Civil War. All the stuff that goes down, and it's the ramblings of a dying man that are going to start the Civil War. I'm just like, ugh, this show. I don't know if 8 was the last episode or if it's going to go to 10. I honestly am not sure how long this season's supposed to be, but we're getting to the end and nothing really has happened yet, so looking forward to maybe something actually happen. All right, with that, be bearing the small things, leading the light, and I will talk to you later.